My name is Eric Zeller. I'm a manager of the interactive curriculum design team. I've been at mine for about a dozen years and very, very excited to share some of the new content and features in this year's curriculum.
All right, as you can see, Gigi's backpack is full of great stuff for students, teachers, and administrators. Basically, we're going to highlight some new games. Eric's going to talk about the streamlined curriculum and what does that mean really? And that includes content coverage and some extra kind of support for teachers to help with facilitation when students get stuck. So that's part of what we're going to do. Next slide. We're going to organize our talk today into 3 different sections. Eric's going to talk about the new ST Math curriculum, and then I'll finish us out with what are those new enhancements for educators and what's new with professional learning. So Eric, take it away.
All right. Well, this is really exciting. We have a streamlined journey, and I'll give you some insight into what that is, what that means, and how we got there, and you'll have an opportunity to play some new games. So the new ST Math curriculum has expanded content coverage. We've created a lot of new games that you'll see. We've also done a lot of work with our data scientists to analyze what is the most productive content in areas where we can improve, and all that for a more streamlined journey so students spend more time focused on games with the greatest learning goals. The first thing that we did was looking to have a more powerful spatial temporal experience for students. We've streamlined the journey. We've updated default sequence and prioritized major content. We've also added things that I think many of you will be excited to see, which is expanded bonus and optional content for those early finishers. One of the things that we are constantly monitoring, collecting data on is how many of our students get through the entire grade level journey. And here you see data from a couple years back from a 4th grade data pull. This is the 4th grade journey, starting with patterns and number and shape and ending with addition and subtraction within a million. The teal bands are students who completed the journey, and the gray band is students in progress, and the orange tips are students that have abandoned the objective. Usually when teachers assign other objectives or change the objective order, students no longer are in that objective. And what we see is you go down, as you make progress through the curriculum, fewer and fewer students are completing the journey. And that was the main driving force, one of the main driving forces for us to streamline the curriculum, meaning have more focus on the major topics and prune or take out content that's not as efficacious for students, so that we have a majority of our students completing the ST Math journey. The other piece of data that you're seeing here is we did a large objective efficacy rating, which means that we looked at individual objectives and correlated the playing of a particular objective to changes in end of year average scores, test scores, standardized test scores. So, for example, on the left, you see there's a total of about 10,000 students in this study. On the left, you see 2 groups of students. Both groups have played exactly the same number and objectives, exactly the same objectives, except the treatment group in red played one other objective. So the 2 groups are exactly the same in terms of ST Math play, but the group in red played an objective that the control group did not. And what we see when we do analysis on the standardized test scores and those students is that there is a significant shift to the right, meaning higher standardized test scores on average than the control group. that indicates that this is an objective that is very powerful and contributes to at least the measure of the standardized test score. Not all objectives fared the same. Here's another objective. Again, the treatment group played everything that the control group did except one objective. And what we see here is the shift of the treatment group, and these two labels are switched. I apologize. Ignore the labels on top. The treatment group is the red. It shifted to the left, which means an average, the grand average test scores actually decrease. We're not claiming causation. We're just looking at correlations. And so when we get this data, we go in and we analyze much more deeply, and we scrutinize the objectives we have in the journey and make cuts accordingly. The last bit of data I want to share with you is student attempt data. And this is, we get data on all the students playing a particular level and how many attempts it takes for them to pass a level. This is an example, again, from 4th grade. It's a multiplicative comparison. And this is a game where, in order for Gigi to cross the screen, you have to create a bridge that's equal to the length of the gap. And it's getting students to think about multiplication as comparison, a multiplicative comparison. So in the case down on the left, the gap is 24. Gigi has a piece of bridge that's 6 units. So does Gigi need to add? Is the bridge, 8 more, 10 more? Or is it a multiplicative relationship where the bridge is maybe twice as long or 3 times as long? The data that we found was on the left. Between August and January, we had about 16,000 students playing. The number of, and the mean level attempts. So take all the students and average out. The average or mean level attempt for this 3rd level was 11.3, blah, blah, blah. That means that on average, every student got a stuck hurdle on this level. When we analyzed it and tested out students playing this, all of these options are unproductive distractors. What we really want to focus on in this level is students deciding, is this a multiplicative or additive relationship? And so we reduced the number of options and really got students to focus on the multiplicative versus additive relationships. And we see that the mean average attempts for this level, when we measured students who are playing it for the first time between February and May, dropped significantly. So we're constantly pruning and improving the experiences that students have in the journey, all with the goal of getting all students to experience at least 70–75% of the journey, as well as cutting back or pruning the curriculum. We've expanded standards coverage by creating 45 new ST math games. So if you are going to go in and explore the entire ST math K5 or K6 experience, you would see 41 new games. And this is where we get to the really exciting piece, which is you get to experience the new ST math games. So I want to just say a little bit about what you're about to experience. One is we looked at areas in the standards where we did not have strong coverage, and we intentionally designed games specifically targeting those standards. So there's more content coverage. We also worked with our game designers and graphic artists to enhance the interactivity. So as you're playing, you'll notice that the games that you'll be exploring are more than just choosing the answer. You're actually manipulating something that gives you some insight into the mathematical relationships. And the enhanced interactivity we see also increases student engagement. And we've created creative modeling modes, which if you choose the games that we're selecting for you or give you options to select, you'll notice that there's creative modeling modes where you're given a symbolic and you're modeling the math. So the first game you'll have a choice to play is a first and second grade estimating, measurement, and measurement concepts for grades 1 and 2. The other option you have is a fourth and fifth grade tool, which is an interactive tool mode where you're using a scale to figure out the weight, the conversions between ounces and pounds, and some problem solving using those conversions to find the weight of various critters. And then the third game ends with this modeling mode, which has you working on adding and subtracting unlike denominators. So when you see this and you're playing, you have a set of tools on the left panel that you can use to model and solve the problem. Okay. One last comment before we post the links in the chat, which is I have customized a level for you all to play, given that you're teachers. I've truncated the student experience, which would usually encompass multiple levels in at least 2, maybe 3 games. I've put it all together in one sequence of puzzles. So I'm going to ask you to persevere, to look at the interactivity and use the feedback to solve these problems. Please remember, this is not the experience that students will get. This is a teacher experience I designed for you. And so what we will do now is Debbie is posting the first link is to the measurement game for an example of first and second grade games. The second one is the fourth and fifth grade measurement conversion. And the third one that's coming up is this one on adding and subtracting with unlike denominators. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment. I will not, because it's not clearly in evidence. So I'll keep my screen up, but I would like to encourage you all to click one of the links in the chat, and we're going to have about 5 minutes, maybe some more. I'll dialogue with my colleagues here. I think we have a little more than 5 minutes for you to play. So let's give it until about 8 past. Just so that I can make sure that we have everybody on board, can you give me a thumbs up? I think that you have the option of doing a thumbs up on Zoom if you are in and playing a game. Thank you, Jennifer and CS Johnson, Rebecca. All right, awesome. So go in and play. I'll stop talking for a while. If you have questions, go ahead and post them in the chat and I'll reply to them as you're playing.
Eric, there's some questions about the grade levels. I don't know if you can speak to each of these as they're kind of playing about the grade levels.
So one question was the second grade, the measurement task with rulers, being able to use the rulers. The rulers are programmed into the game, so all students would be using the rulers. I don't see the other.
there was just a question from Andy, what grade levels are these games?
So the measurement with the rulers game is found in first and second grade. There's a version of it with indirect measurement in kindergarten. And there are versions that are more challenging of the game in third and fourth grade that involve multi-step problems. Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody commented that it took them a few tries before they realized there were actual tools that you can use, like a ruler that you can bring down to help you measure objects. And that is indeed one of the enhancements we've done to our game design, is adding tools that students can use that are not directly related to inputting an answer. Okay, we have about 2 more minutes. Give me a thumbs up if 2 more minutes is going to be okay for you, just to get a sense of pacing for folks. Thank you. All right, I'm seeing the thumbs up pop up. And you can come back after the conference and play these games if you open your browser and just navigate to the links. Okay, some of you can't do emojis, but you texted, you're ready. Thank you. And we have 1 more minute. If you would like to just post any comment or observation about your experience in the chat, I will use those to transition to our next set of slides. Okay, awesome. So unlike some of the platforms that we're developing, I can't freeze your screen, so I'm going to ask you all come back, but I have a hunch that some of you may at the same time continue playing. So I'm glad you enjoyed the games. A lot of really, really positive comments about the enhanced interactivity. Let me just go back and make comments on a couple of these. One was the measurement weight conversions leveling. We actually have in the student experience two separate games. One game has students just exploring the conversions between pounds and ounces and using a table. And then the second game introduces this idea of, you know, how much does a puppy weigh, or how much does this creature weigh? And the challenge is that there are times when your critter or multiple creatures are on some sort of container, like a wagon, but you can't put both in this case, the dog and the wagon on the same side of the scale to measure them together. So you have to develop a problem-solving approach to be able to find the weight of the two things combined. And then they get progressively more challenging. In this case here, you can answer 3/8 plus 1/4 directly by inputting the value. The role of the tool is for students who want to model it or need that additional scaffold. They can bring two bar models here and then partition them to represent 3/8 and 1/4, and then use the scissors mechanism. And so those are all the kind of newest ways that we are continuing to evolve ST Math games by increasing student engagement with more interactivity in the puzzles. We also, as we are pruning or removing objectives and games that don't have as efficacious of an outcome for students, we are recognizing that the students who finish the curriculum in the given school year are going to finish it earlier than that. And we've created for those students an enriched opportunity to go deeper into the grade level content by engaging in multi-step problem solving, having a mixed review of the major focus content, and in some cases, an ability to play games that will help jumpstart content for the next year. It was really exciting to see opportunities for students to play completely visual modes of concepts they would be encountering the next year and seeing them build that foundation. So there's a lot of content for those students who finish the journey before the end of the school year to maintain engagement, increase the level of productive challenges, and really deepen their understanding of both key areas of focus at the grade level and to preview upcoming concepts in the next level. And so I hope that you have an incredibly fantastic school year and that your students are even more engaged and enthusiastic about ST Math. I'm going to hand this over to Debbie, and I'll start reading some of the latest chats that were posted and respond in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Very exciting. And just to think, this is just, Eric just highlighted some of the new things. And so hopefully whenever you get back in and your school and school district have rolled over into the new year, you'll be able to really engage in some of these new games. Quite fun. So what I'm going to do is to talk about the new things for you guys as educators and for the districts at large. So next slide, please. Thank you. One of the things that we're working at is providing ways for you as teachers to help when students are struggling or maybe even stuck, giving you guys some open-ended questions or maybe even some targeted questions or tips that relate specifically to the game. We're working hard at not only providing that, but we're creating what we're calling game in a minute videos, where in just a minute you get an overview of what the game is about. So sometimes I know it's hard for you as teachers to help support kids when the game is confusing to you. And I know that you're busy and you haven't had a chance to go through and play the games as well. So we're working at creating a growing library of these tips and videos. One of the things that we have is we've had some school districts who maybe aren't rostered like through Clever or something. We've given a kind of an easy way to roster, to bulk create student accounts with passwords. So might not apply to you if you're a teacher, but some of you might be here at the district level who might be really interested in that. If you're a district that uses either the NWA map test scores, or maybe you also use the iReady diagnostic, we have a way now to, if your district is interested, reach out to us. We can take those scores and ingest them into STMath and do some auto assignments of content for students who need it most. We also have added some functionality at the district level for the district to take a journey like a third grade journey and reorder those that maybe fits your district more uniquely. We also have heard from you guys about the need to really have the student data save that on after each puzzle attempt. And I know that's been a big ask and quite a frustration for students and teachers. So we've worked really hard to be able to provide that to you so that students are more where they pick up where they left off a little bit better than what they've been able to do in the past. And we've also made sure that the time zones in the educator console represent the time zone that you are in locally. Next slide. All right, on to professional learning. Next slide. Professional learning team has been working really hard to provide some new opportunities. One is a new session called Using Tools with STMath. They're organized into 3 30-minute sessions that could be done independently or grouped together for a 90-minute session. Basically, it's really helping you guys as experienced users, how you can dig deeper, how you use those tools. Also new is what we're calling a champions program, where we're providing support to districts or large agencies for a more successful implementation, looking for those who are interested in a 3-year model of support. Last is one of the things that we hear is that it's really hard to fit in professional learning. So again, more targeted 30-minute sessions. The new topics are helping stuck students. A 5-minute data dive that I was able to talk to people who were creating that. Very interesting session. You might be interested in that, and then going deeper with a problem solving process. So great things to learn this year. Next slide. Basically, we want to thank you for attending. All of the things that you see here is often a result of the feedback we get from you guys. So if you do have feedback for us, please reach out to your Ed Success or your school success partner at Mind to help us know how to do things better, because we want to be able to do that for you.